Well, for years, ethanol was presented as part of the answer to India's sugar problem. Ethanol was seen as a way to absorb surplus sugarcane, improve the finances of mills, and reduce the country's dependence on imported crude oil. But with sugar prices now surging by 40% in a month and Indian households bracing for the festive season, the same fuel policy is now giving rise to a question. Is the diversion of sugarcane for the production of ethanol to blame?
Well, amid the political uproar with the opposition blaming the cane diversion to ethanol production for the sugar crisis, the government clarified, stating it is monitoring the situation closely and cited a combination of factors that impacted the surge, including lower than expected domestic production, increased demand ahead of the festive season, weather-related damage to the sugarcane crop, tightening global sugar supplies, and speculation and hoarding by some sections of the industry. Retail sugar prices have climbed to around 65 rupees per kilogram, while several quick commerce platforms and offline retailers have started limiting how much consumers can buy. Platforms including Blinkit, Zepto and Swiggy Instamart have imposed product-specific caps, while some offline outlets are reportedly restricting purchases to around 2 to 3 kilograms per customer. The restrictions come ahead of festivals when households, sweet shops and food businesses typically increase sugar purchases.
Well, the price rise is being driven by tighter supplies and stronger seasonal demand. Excess rainfall, waterlogging, deficient rainfall in some regions and crop diseases have all affected production in key sugar-producing states. At the same time, around 800,000 tons of sugar exports have added to domestic supply pressure. Packaged food manufacturers are also facing higher input costs, with several companies considering 5 to 6% price increases if sugar prices remain elevated. The government, meanwhile, has responded with measures aimed at increasing domestic availability and preventing hoarding. It has allowed 1 million tons of raw sugar imports duty-free under a tariff rate quota. Importers have been given 2 months' time from the filing of the bill to the entry to process the raw sugar and sell it domestically. Sugar exports have been restricted until the 30th of September, while dealers face stock limits of 400 tons and cannot hold stocks for more than 30 days. The government maintains that ethanol diversion was not the main reason for the price rise. The key question now is how quickly additional supplies reach the market and whether that can bring prices down before the festive demand peaks.
Mr. Jayant Krishnan is a senior fellow at Center for Strategic and International Studies. Is now joining us live on the broadcast from New Delhi. Mr. Krishnan, is a diversion of sugarcane for the production of ethanol to blame?
See, I principally don't think that's a prime reason. If you look at the total amount of sugarcane syrup and molasses that's getting diverted towards ethanol blending, that's only about 2%. 10%, 10 to 12%. It was 12%. It has come down to 9 to 10%. So yeah, to some extent you can blame it to the E20 ethanol blending. But largely, if you look at, there's been a production drop in sugar itself, right? There was a forecast of 343 lakh tons in the year 2025-26. It fell to 306. So more than about 10 to 15% of production fall happened vis-a-vis the forecast, and that is attributable to a variety of reasons like excess rainfall, waterlogging, crop diseases, and so on and so forth. So I think, let's also understand sugar in our country, in India, is a very cyclical kind of an industry, right? In the sense that for a couple of years, if the going is good, suddenly then there is a glut in the market of sugar, and then the prices go down. When the prices go down and both farmers and sugar mills are not able to sell the yield at a good price, then the farmers divert the sugarcane production to some other crop, And when that happens, again, the next year, there is a shortfall in supply of sugarcane and hence sugar, and then, the crisis starts. So this has been happening for several years. Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra, these are the two largest sugar producing states in our country. And both these states, have seen this kind of a pattern of a cyclic nature in the sugarcane industry. And it's not a small industry. If you look at, there are almost 5 crore, which is 50 million farmers are directly dependent, on sugarcane farming in the country, and 5 lakh, which is 500,000 factory workers. They work in the sugarcane factories. So I think you mentioned about ethanol, but there's one more category. There's also part of the sugarcane industry also produces bagasse, right? That's also diverted to co-generation of electricity and so on and so forth. So there are a variety of reasons for what this crisis is.
Mr. Krishna, you said this is, a very cyclical thing to happen. It's a cyclical nature of sugar production, and therefore, could the government have, prevented this hike, considering the fact that the production has been declining steadily since perhaps 23-24?
I think one thing that the government could have done, could have managed better. They had allowed quota-based exports of sugar outside of India, right? That they had allowed. Now they have banned it till September of this year, but earlier they were allowed. So I think, sensing the fact that part of molasses will get diverted towards ethanol and the production itself has fallen, government should not have allowed export quotas for sugar, which finally it has, banned. So I think this could have been done earlier, but I don't think government could have done anything directly to increase the production because of what I just talked about, the weather parameters and so on and so forth. I don't think government could have done anything to increase the production. It could do in subsequent cycles to a limited extent, but couldn't have done anything this year other than, or they could have allowed the import. They have allowed huge amount of sugar import now. That could have been done earlier. And even what the stockist and dealers can stock with them, each one of them, now there's a bar that you can't stock more than 400 tons. Even this could have come earlier. So these kind of measures could have been done a bit earlier, but I don't think it could have done anything directly to intervene, and which would have resulted in a higher sugar production, sugarcane cultivation, and therefore sugar production.
And so for the consumers, Mr. Krishna, can we expect anytime soon for these prices to drop?
See, let's understand, in our country, onions and sugar, these are such sensitive products, commodities, that governments have fallen in the past because of inordinately high prices of sugar and onions, right? So I think no government is going to sit back and relax and let the market forces prevail. They will do everything under their control to keep a cap on the prices. The prices today in different markets range anywhere between rupees 55 to rupees 65 to even 70 in some markets per kilogram of sugar. I have a feeling it will eventually stabilize at around 60 rupee per kilogram, or even slightly less, 57, 58 rupees to a kilogram. That's the level at which it will stabilize, because right now there's a small season right now itself, the Raksha Bandhan, then subsequently you'll have 2 months later, you'll have Diwali and so on and so forth, where huge amount of sugar consumption happens in sweets and candies and chocolates and so on and so forth. So I think government will do everything that it can do in terms of control mechanisms which it has access to bring down the prices, because no government can afford the lack of popularity because of sugar prices going up.
All right, let's see how this stabilizes, because the festive season has already begun in India, and sugar is a commodity, like you said, that is very crucial and essential. Mr. Jayant Krishna is a senior fellow at Center for Strategic and International Studies. Mr. Krishna, thank you very much for your time and for talking to us today.
A pleasure.